Woo! Oh my gosh. This is for real. A $320 billion media empire is hanging in the balance, and President Biden just put a hit on its boardroom. Over the weekend, Donald Trump issued a fire her or else ultimatum to everybody's favorite company, Netflix, targeting former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, as you just saw in that clip. But this isn't just about the true social rant. It's a high stakes squeeze play with Netflix fighting a hostile takeover and then just put in its huge $80+ billion bid to buy Warner Brothers Studio and is begging for DOJ for merger approval. The White House just turned a business deal into a loyalty test. Is this the end of corporate independence? Who knows? Is Netflix about to pay the consequences? Let's get into it. Again, what's up, everyone? It's your boy, Mr. Cameron Calvin, host of Hip Politics News, and we're diving into the story where the world of binge watching and brutal politics just collided head on. Over the weekend, President Trump hit his Truth Social in one of his late night rants with a post that sent shockwaves from DC all the way to Silicon Valley. He demanded, in all caps, fire her immediately. He called Susan Rice a political hack, claimed she has no talent. His go-to line, no talent, talentless. Oh my gosh, and warned that the streaming giant he warned the streaming giant Netflix to comply or pay the consequences. This is unprecedented. To call for a board member or CEO or active lead at a private company, or even just a private company, even if it is publicly traded, is unprecedented from trying to use the bully pulpit. So now on the surface, this looks like your standard Trump versus Obama era official beef. But if you look at the scoreboard, the timing is anything but random. So you might be asking yourself, why Susan Rice and why now? Well, it all started on that clip we just saw at the beginning, Preet Bharara's podcast. Susan Rice went on there and basically threw down the gauntlet. She said, warned corporations that taking a knee to Trump has its consequences. That she talked about the shift that is going to happen, or the inevitable shift, because a lot of Trump's policies, Trump himself is not as popular as they thought. They do have immediate corporate interests, and in our society now, where public companies are living on a quarter to quarter basis, the president and by de facto his administration has a lot of sway over private companies in terms of not just contracts and money they can get, but the regulatory environment they live in. So they can up the taxes here, they can give credits there. That can mean millions, if not literally billions of dollars, to companies, which can affect their stock prices, can affect jobs, can affect so many things in our economy. So they hold a lot of power. But she told, in Susan Rice in her clip, and later in the clip, she said she told companies to preserve their documents and be ready for subpoenas. In Trump's eyes, this wasn't just an opinion, it was a threat to his allies and his influence. And I think she talked about that because she said there's going to be an accountability. I'm sorry if I couldn't say that word, accountability agenda. What that means is she's betting essentially that eventually Congress will shift and won't be all Republican, both House and the Senate. And then those companies that showed favor, may have done something illegal or done something not against the public interest, then may be subpoenaed by Congress, or even more so, if Trump doesn't win and there's not another Republican office, corporations don't know where they may stand in the next administration. But the thing is, a lot of them can't even worry about that because they're, like I said, if you're a publicly traded company, you're on earnings calls. You need to quarter to quarter be able to show growth, be able to show revenue, and so they have clearly short-term and short-sighted views. So the $83 billion lever. This is where it gets messy. Netflix isn't just a tech company right now. It's a company in the middle of a massive $83 billion acquisition over Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers that owns CNN, HBCU, I'm sorry, CNN, HBO, and the DC Universe. You've heard Trump and all of his outcries and his hatred. I would darn near say hatred, but definitely all of his lash outs against CNN and some of the things that are said on CNN by its various analysts and show hosts. He would love to have that in the hands of somebody who's more favorable to Trump. But in order to pull that off, they need the Department of Justice to say yes to the merger. Trump has said publicly that he'd let the DOJ handle it, and that he wouldn't meddle in it. Not true. But then he turns around and tells Netflix that there will be consequences if they don't purge their board of his critics. That's what we call an antitrust leverage. He's essentially saying, nice merger you got there. Shame if something were to happen to it. And it gets even deeper. Netflix isn't the only one at the table. As you know, there's a cutthroat bidding war against Paramount Skydance. And who runs Skydance? David Ellison. David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison. Literally, he fluctuates between the second and fourth richest person in the world, founder of Oracle. Um, and he's a massive, massive Trump supporter. So if you follow the money, Trump is publicly attacking Netflix, which has Susan Rice on the board. Susan Rice was a prominent figure in the Obama era administration. You know how he hates Obama and how he feels about Obama. But Susan Rice is on the board and has a production deal with the Obamas, while a rival bid coming from one of his biggest donors and supporters, Paramount Skydance and the Ellison family. It's not just a business deal anymore. It's a fight to see who controls the information war. I think we'll go down in other news clips and other opinion pieces around what's best for not just the movie industry but the information industry, depending on who gets control over this Warner Brothers deal, which, like I said, comes with CNN, comes with Batman and Superman, the DC universe, but comes with HBO, comes with Prestige TV. Analysts like MSN Now's Rachel Maddow are pointing out that this is an escalation. We've moved past the government just regulating business. We're now in a new normal where the White House is openly interfering with private business transaction and gets to and see even who gets to sit on a company's private boardroom. Uh, like that's just unprecedented. Rice's argument that the old rules are gone. Trump's argument is that Rice is a racist hack trying to weaponize the future. But the real victims here might be the concept of the free market. I mean, that's literally one of the pillars of the American culture, is that we do have a free and fair market. If a CEO has to check with the president before he can hire a board member, is it really a private company anymore? So Netflix, like I said, I think they recently had a 310, $320 billion cap valuation. So they're over $300 billion company, one of the biggest leaders and innovators in technology and streaming and video and entertainment, something penetration of more than 50% of homes in America. If they have to fire Rice, or if they do fire Rice for any reason, because she is a board member and she's been a board member since 2018, so almost 8 years, then they admit kind of to the world, without no matter how they spin it, that the president runs their boardroom. Now that sends a shockwave throughout the business industry, because while they do understand that the president has and his administration have hold sway over different levers and contracts and certain policies, there's never been a call to directly fire someone at a C-suite executive board level, even though he has called out and asked people to fire late night TV show hosts, and uh, you've seen that happen with some folks who've had to get pulled off air, but never a CEO or a corporate board member. So Trump ended his post on Truth Social and said, "Thank you for your attention to this matter. Trust me, the whole world is paying attention now." So we will keep you updated on where this all goes. If we do have a free and fair market anymore, if the Trump administration, or literally one of America's Fortune 100 biggest companies, is going to bend the knee and acquiesce to the president, or whether they're going to stand up for Susan Rice. This has so many deep implications. But stay tuned right here for your next segment of Hip Politics News, and we'll keep you updated. With that, we're out. Peace.